If it talks Canadian sports, we talk about it here with Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi, and this is Maple Leaf Talk. Yes, Maple Leaf Talk. The good news is you can use the same title to do a lot of different things. So this is the lot of different things we're going to do. And we'll start with tennis because there's a lot of tennis news that we can talk about that is good for Canadians. Aaron, let's start with Pospisil.
Sure. So Vasek Pospisil from Vernon confirmed last week that the National Bank Open in Toronto would actually be his final hurrah on the pro circuit. The 35-year-old Pospisil had a career-high singles ranking of world number 25 and ranked fourth in doubles. Along with partner Jack Sock, he won the 2014 Wimbledon Championship and the 2015 Indian Wells Masters men's doubles titles. He also reached the quarterfinals in singles at the 2015 Wimbledon Championships. Unfortunately, he was bounced in the first round. He got put out. By Facundo Bagnis of Argentina. At Sobeys Center. He lost 6-2, 3-6, 6-3 in just under 2 hours, or 1 hour and 57 minutes. Not really the way that he wanted to go, but at least he went out on his own terms. So from there, Bagnis will be going on to play Nuno Borges of Portugal. And there's actually another Canadian gentleman who'll be playing there, 18-year-old wild card entry Nicolas Arsenault, who knocked out 24-year-old qualifier Valentin Royer of France 6-3, 7-6 in 1 hour and 45 minutes. So not necessarily the ending that Pospisil would have wanted, but at least he went out on his own terms.
Well, he didn't just go out on his own terms. He had to stop for injury time a few times. He played injured. He literally played injured. And he played through the whole thing. He just didn't give it up. He played actually like you expect every Canadian to play. This isn't a soccer player. He's a Canadian tennis player.
No, a lot of grit and determination in that.
Let's talk about Victoria Mboko. She is new to the circuit and another Canadian.
Yeah. In opening round action at the National Bank Open, when the women's side plays in Montreal, while the men's side is playing here in Toronto, Mboko made her main draw debut and powered away past Australia's Kimberly Burrows 7-5, 6-3 at IGA Stadium Center Court. Bianca Andreescu of Mississauga continued that momentum into the evening session, defeating Czechia's Barbara Krejcikova 6-3, 6-4 in a battle of former Grand Slam champions. That match almost ended in devastation as she fell to the ground with a left ankle injury while serving for the match. She did, however, manage to get a medical timeout, but was able to wrap up the match 2 points later. Now, she wasn't available to the media after the match because of the injury, but we're expecting a little more information later today following more extensive medical exams. Mboko used her big and powerful service game. She hammered 15 aces, most of which were clocked at over 180 kilometers an hour. She also mixed in some solid forehand winners, and it's good to see her get off to a strong start.
Canadian tennis, new blood, seems every day. Somebody who's just a little further along historically in Canadian tennis, Bouchard, was at the NBO as well.
Yeah, this is going to be her final tournament. She became the first Canadian woman in the Open era to contest a Grand Slam singles final when she lost to Petra Kvitova in the All England Club in 2014. She also reached the Australian Open and French Open semifinals, captured a WTA title in Nuremberg, and ascended to number 5 in the world rankings. Just past 31 years old, she's beginning her final tournament against Emiliana Arango at the National Bank Open in Montreal. She announced last week she'd retire at the end of her hometown event. There's a lot of sadness there, but the good news is the new blood that's taking over, that would be Mboko, who we just spoke about, was only 7 years old when Eugenie Bouchard ran to the Wimbledon final for the first time. So, there's a little bit of a passing of the torch there in Montreal. So hopefully Eugenie does well.
Yeah, and a big torch is carried by Leylah Fernandez, who won the DC Open.
Yeah, this was a really great finish for her. It's the biggest tennis title of her career at the DC Open. She's ranked 36th. She wrapped up a big week of good tight matches, but defeated Anna Kalinskaya 6-1, 6-2 in the final. This is her fourth singles trophy and the first at a WTA 500 event. She came close to a Grand Slam championship as a teenager at the 2021 U.S. Open, but lost to Emma Raducanu there. There was almost actually a rematch in Washington, but Kalinskaya eliminated Raducanu in the semifinals on Saturday. So, good news for her.
Let's go to something else of interest to Canadian sports fans, the Toronto Blue Jays. Unfortunately, All-Star Kirk didn't catch a ball, and Bob caught his mask, and he ended up with a concussion.
Yeah, he ended up getting pulled in the fourth inning. Was replaced by Tyler Heineman. He's beginning. Kirk actually started Sunday 6th in the majors with a batting average of .304. He has 7 home runs and 47 ribbies, but unfortunately, he's on the 7-day injured list with a concussion. So in a corresponding move, the Blue Jays have recalled Ali Sanchez and activated him for the series finales against Detroit, which went on Sunday, which unfortunately wasn't a result that the Jays were looking for.
10-4.
Yeah, it was a big one. Flaherty and Torres helped the Tigers snap the 6-game losing streak with that win. Flaherty had 6 scoreless innings. Gleyber Torres hit a 3-run homer, and Detroit, having lost 12 of its past 13 games, kind of needed that one to keep themselves from really becoming true sellers at the trade deadline, which is coincidentally coming up on Thursday.
Wow, they were a really good team until that run. As they say in CB radio, 10-4, good buddy. All right, Max Scherzer had a good day, even though
he turned 41 on Sunday. When he pitched. At that point, he actually tied an MLB record. He struck out 11 Tigers batters on his birthday outing and a revenge game against his former club, coincidentally. It's the second time that Scherzer has reported double-digit strikeouts on his birthday. That ties Stan Williams for the most double-digit strikeout birthday outing since at least 1900, at least according to MLB Network's Sarah Langs. Now, this is obviously a bit of a narrowed record, because nobody born in the winter months could ever accomplish that. But there's still a lot of baseball months to account for. And, the fact that he's tied for a record like this is kind of fun. And it's not necessarily a bad way to spend your birthday.
Absolutely. Let's go to the Canadian Football League. The Rough Riders defense played really well against the Elks. The Elks can't seem to win a game, and the Rough Riders look good.
Yeah, the offense seems like it has 2 left feet. But when you have the Roughies producing 8 sacks, especially on a Friday night, Edmonton's comeback effort unfortunately came up a little short. It was Cody Fajardo's first start as an Elk, but the Riders managed to hold on for a 21-18 win. The pass rush really was the story from start to finish. They brought Fajardo to the turf to kill the final drive as they were searching for a game-tying field goal. 5 different Riders got to the quarterback, with Micah Johnson, Shane Ray, and Malik Carney each getting 2 takedowns. On the other side of the football, Trevor Harris was 25 for 33, throwing for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. Samuel Emilus was a standout receiver at Mosaic, catching all 6 of his targets for 113 yards. Now, Fajardo was named the Edmonton starting quarterback coming out of the team's Week 7 bye, but he faced a lot of pressure. He was 26 for 33 for 346 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was not an easy game for him at all. They did not give him a lot of breathing room.
He tried to take some of the blame for that, the time that he had. He blamed himself for a lot of it. He's a good leader that way. He's a guy who's not afraid to take the heat for the team. And it's money in the bank when you do that, when you support your players and let them know you got their back. It comes back in a lot of ways for a quarterback. And it's good for him to have the support of the rest of the team, especially coming in and taking over from the starting quarterback. Let's talk about the Tiger Cats, who keep winning, and they're doing it in last-minute style here. They just they know how to win. This is a team with Boley Mitchell at quarterback that gets up and down the field very easily, at will, it seems. And that's how they won this game, Aaron.
This is their first 5-game winning streak since 2019. So I think that says a lot as to how much they've developed over the past few years, especially considering the hurdles that they've faced. Bo Levi Mitchell threw for 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Keandre Smith had 138 yards and 2 TDs, and Greg Bell had 56 yards rushing, which was great for them. On the flip side of the ball, Nathan Rourke had 289 yards. James Butler rushed in 2 TDs and tallied 115 yards on 16 carries. And Keon Hatcher led all Lions receivers with 117 yards on 5 receptions. This is one of those where they came back from a double-digit deficit. I didn't think they were going to be able to do it, I'll be quite honest with you. But steady progress down the field, and Bo Levi playing the way that he did.
4-yard pass kind of helps too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I saw it, and then, well, okay, so this is real. Bo Levi's arm's in good shape. His shoulder, that's what got him out of Calgary was a bad shoulder. So, his shoulder's healthy, and now you see what happens if Bo Levi Mitchell is healthy and he has some really good receivers and a great coach. He has all that and more with the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Most definitely.
The Argos beat the Bombers. They won the Grey Cup against them. There was talk that this would be a revenge game on behalf of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It kind of fell short in that regard. And for the first time ever, and I can say this because I've been to every game at BMO that the Argos have played, it is the first time it's rained the majority of the game. There have been times when it's rained for a few minutes, Aaron, as you know, because you go to the games as well. We've had the odd time where there was 5 minutes of rainfall and it looked like, we're going to get rain, and then it just disappeared. Not this time. So this was a game that the Toronto Argonauts, who have been sloppy this season, played really good football in a sloppy environment.
I tell you, though, this being their first home win and sitting at 2-5, it's been a rough season so far for the Argonauts.
Far from being lost, this is the Canadian Football League. If they go on a run, win 3 games in a row, they'll be 500. Can they do that? Well, they're going to have to do it through Hamilton. That looks like a tough task, but roles are reversed now. Hamilton's the really good team. Toronto's not the really good team. And somehow that formula worked for Hamilton in the recent past. Maybe it can work in the near future for the Toronto Argonauts.
I think this is also their third straight regular season win over Winnipeg. This is something they haven't done since 2015, I think, if memory serves. Nick Arbuckle had 22 of 31 for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is actually his first game this season as well without an interception. DeMonte Coxey had 145 receiving yards and a touchdown on 6 catches. And Tavares Daniels and David Unger surpassed the 60-yard marks as well. Collaros played 2 quarters before being sidelined with an injury he sustained in Winnipeg's Week 7 matchup against the Stampeders. He went 5 for 10 for 79 yards. Jarrett Stearns had 72 yards on 4 receptions, and Brady Oliveira had 82 on 13 carries, but it wasn't nearly enough. I think this was their 3rd straight loss so far this season, and it's dropped them to 3-3. Stanley Bryant was really obvious for them too. It's a whole bunch of contributing factors that helped, but also the fact that the Argos were consistent in the weather really helped them in the long run.
And a good friend, the announcer at the Argo games, kept talking about Collaros at quarterback. It wasn't Collaros at quarterback. Adam Goss did notice they changed quarterbacks. But mind you, Collaros wasn't even supposed to play. It was predicted that he would probably sit out that game. So he came out, he tried, it didn't work.
Well, he gave it a shot, and it's a shame that he had to be pulled again, but it is what it is.
And then we've got quarterback Chad Kelly. All of a sudden now he's placed on the 6-game injured list, which now really, I find it very confusing. Now, when you put a player on the injured list, it helps with the cap. And unfortunately, they've missed that opportunity all season. And now he's on the 6th game. Now, he can come back well before the 6th game is over. That's not an issue of him coming back. But it speaks to the fact that this injury is much tougher than many people thought. I as the injury happened and during the off season, I talked to David from week to week and never felt that he'd be back before week 7 or 8. Well, guess where we are. And I still feel that this is the kind of injury to recover from is a real challenge. It's one of those injuries where they tell you you're okay, you feel like you're ready to play, you still have to wait another week.
Well, and the fact that it's it's one of his ankles, that is one of the things that they rely on as well when it comes to planting and throwing and getting out of the pocket. I know that a lot of people were hoping that he'd be back in time for week 8, but at this point, it looks like we're probably going to see him week 15 against Edmonton.
Week 15. That's not a good thought, but it is what it is. Hey, let's go to Canada's favorite sport. Let's just say it's Canada's favorite sport because it's the one that most people pay attention to the most intensely. And let's talk about a team whose fan base have been watching them intensely and who've had hope recently, and that is the Montreal Canadiens. And they're looking for a new goalie, Aaron. What's up with that?
So there was some hope up front. They brought in Noah Dobson and Zach Bolduc. But on July 1st, they also added to their goalie depth by signing Kaapo Kähkönen to a 1-year, $1.15 million contract. Now, it's one of the smaller moves that they've made over the summer. It's one of the smaller moves when it comes to NHL free agency, but it also has the potential to be a good one. With this addition, the Canadiens have brought in a goalie with a good amount of NHL experience. That's not a bad thing. Kähkönen also offers them another potential option for their backup spot if they feel Jacob Dobish stumbles or would benefit from more time with the Rocket. But even if Kähkönen ends up starting the season in the AHL, he'd still be a good goalie to have around. He has the potential to help Laval out, but also be a clear call-up candidate for the Canadiens when, not if, when injuries arise. This is truly a no-risk move for the Habs. It'll be fascinating to see how much of an impact he can have. Now, they also did acquire Noah Dobson from the New York Islanders in exchange for Emil Heineman and picks number 16 and 17 of the 2025 NHL entry draft. They immediately made Dobson a long-term part of their future as they signed him to an 8-year, $76 million contract. So that's one of the bigger moves that the Habs have made, looking to shore things up on the front end.
Sens have 2 prospects that could be part of the junior team, the Canadian junior team.
Yeah, so the 2025 World Junior Summer Showcase in Minnesota it's being hosted by USA Hockey, which includes teams from Canada, Finland, and Sweden. This event is actually just started today, and it runs until August 2nd. It's part of each country's selection process for the IIHF World Junior Championships on Boxing Day. So Logan Hensler, who was drafted 23rd overall, he represented the Americans in their gold medal winning team in Ottawa back in January, and he's back in the mix again as the Americans are trying to three-peat this year. Hensler helped Team USA White win their opener on Sunday, 5-2 over Finland. The event is conveniently being held at the University of Minnesota, just 16 miles from Hensler's hometown of Woodbury. So that's a lucky thing for them. Gabriel Eliasson is suiting up this week for Team Sweden. He played with the Barrie Colts last season in 79 games, including playoffs for the Colts. He's 6'7", and is best known for his defense and general unpleasantness to play against. He put up 137 penalty minutes in the OHL this year, so that'll be interesting to see too.
Yep, big kid. Let's talk about Winnipeg and Kyle Connor, who's going to be signing a contract that could be setting a new standard in Winnipeg.
Yeah. Now, they've done a terrific job in Winnipeg of building a core that has been willing to take less than fair market value or less than open market value, whether it's Connor Hellebuck, Mark Scheifele, or Josh Morrissey. Most of their players have chosen to stay in Winnipeg for a lot less money than other teams would have paid them. However, for the past 6 seasons, Kyle Connor has earned $7.14 million a season. And in return for that, Connor has never produced more than 31 goals. This year he had 41. Right now, Connor's going to be a UFA at the end of this upcoming season. And if he does end up going to the open market, there's a lot of folks that would be more than happy to pay him $10 million a season. As it currently stands, just so you get an impression of what we're looking at here, nobody on the Jets makes more than 8.5.
Yeah, and that's
Even Morrissey's only making 6.25, and Neil Pionk is only earning 7. Velarde just signed an extension that pays him an average annual value of 7.5. But with the salary cap going to 95.5 next season, the question then becomes, do you want to try to limit Connor to 8.5 for 8, or do you want to try to give him a little bit more? So that's the question that Shovel Day Off is going to have to look at, because if he does offer more to Kyle Connor, he could potentially be upsetting Scheifele, Hellebuck, and Morrissey by backing up the money truck for him, right? So
absolutely.
it's a definite interesting question for them, and it'll speak to team culture as to how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the Flames, and their prospects are getting some attention for the showcase, the junior showcase.
Oh, for sure. Hockey Canada unveiled the 44 players who will be representing this country at the tournament in Minnesota. And 3 of the future stars the Flames have drafted in the past 2 years have actually scored invites. That's Zane Parekh, Henry Muse, and Cole Reshny, who will all be participating in the practices, scrimmages, and a trio of exhibition games, which, often serve as a jumping off point if they're going to make Team Canada. Parekh was drafted 9th in 2024 and went on to lead the CHL in defensive scoring last season with 107 points. Muse was 3rd in OHL defensive scoring, putting up 82 points. And Reshny is headed to the University of North Dakota after putting up 92 points for the Victoria Royals last season and getting drafted number 18 overall by the Flames in June. Colin Potter, the Flames' other first-round pick in June at number 32, will be part of the American contingent, which and that's, like I said, starting yesterday and going to the 2nd. You can catch some of the games on USA Hockey TV. So if you're interested in catching some of those guys, that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Oilers.
So Trent Frederick recently got a very nice deal from the Edmonton Oilers. He got an 8-year, $3.85 million per deal. They had originally acquired him as part of the Buffalo Bruins fire sale back in March, along with Max Jones and prospect Peter Hauser. Edmonton gave up a 2nd and a 4th pick, as well as the rights to Shane LaChance going to New Jersey. Trent at 6'3" and 220. Bowman said, "Look, he's just an awesome guy. First of all, like outside of the hockey, he's a guy that you believe in, that you want him as part of your team. He really likes the character." But I mean, that's not the only reason to sign him. He's got a very good skill set. He's had 18 goals twice in a row. I think he's still got a lot of miles to him. So, I thought it was interesting that they would give him 8, but they managed to lock him in at $3.85 million, which means that when they need more cap space in another couple of years, when a certain other player needs to sign another deal, they haven't necessarily handcuffed themselves with too much AAV.
No, he's a good player. I don't know if how valuable he is. Didn't get a chance to watch him as closely as the Edmonton fans did, but that's not a big contract right now. With in the shadow of the looming new cap number that's coming down the pike. Let's talk about the Canucks and their prospect. Had a good day defeating Team USA, helping his team defeat Team USA, being a Swede.
Yeah. Wilson Björk and Team Sweden actually kicked off their World Junior Summer Showcase yesterday with a 5-2 win over Team USA Blue, not to be confused with Team USA White. After going into the 3rd period down 2-1, Sweden actually scored 4 unanswered to pick up the win. Sweden is going to be playing 4 more games during their event, with their next scheduled game today against Team USA White. Well, they'll be facing some of the Ottawa Senators draft picks, so that'll prove to be interesting. I'm going to see if I can find the game online and maybe catch a little bit of the action.
Absolutely. Good for you. Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they have a draft pick, Ben Danford, a defenseman. He's been invited to the Team Canada camp. The only guy the Leafs have, but that's 43 players, 32 teams. Having a player is I'll call it average. Ottawa has 2.
The Canucks have 4. But that's all. Let's not look too deeply into that. Let's be honest here.
It does say that you have talent coming down the road.
For sure. I mean, the fact that the Canucks have 4 prospects in there, and
doesn't guarantee a cup. That's not the point. But yeah.
No, but I mean, the fact is the cupboards aren't necessarily bare for them. I mean, he was the 35th pick overall in the 2024 draft. And he's seen as a possible defensive defenseman option for Toronto down the road. He's getting mentorship from Chris Tanev and Jake Muzzin and Mark Giordano. Muzzin's been working with the Leafs in a developmental role, while Giordano took part in development camp. So we'll see if he's going to be doing anything else beyond that. I think Giordano's role with the Leafs is still in the process of being defined. At least according to Maple Leafs assistant GM Haley Wickenheiser. Now, Danford at 6'2", might be a really good fit for Canada if he makes the team. He's a right-handed shot who's responsible in his own end, and was named captain of the Oshawa Generals ahead of the 24-25 season. He also has previous experience representing Canada as part of Canada's Red Squad in the World Under-17 Challenge in 22-23, and again for Canada at the Under-18s in 23-24. So, the fact that he's at the camp itself is a good sign. It speaks well to his work ethic and his drive, and I think the Leafs might actually have somebody here.
And getting good experience playing with the best players you can play with.
100%.
Yeah, good for him. Hope he does well. The CBA is removing Gary Bettman and company, are making sure that the one way that Canadian teams can level the playing field, and that's Toronto and other Canadian teams, is with the bonus schedule. They've screwed around with the bonus schedule so that you can only, I think it's 60% or something, but it hurts teams like Toronto and other teams that are not low tax states. It's a way that they can level the playing field when paying the players, so the players can keep a little bit more money. For example, Austin Matthews was able to keep an extra, I think it was they're saying like $5 million, from his pay because of the schedule, doing it with bonuses as opposed to pay. So now where you live is starting to matter more and more, and impacting how much you pay in tax, and where you play. It isn't just where you live; it's also where you practice, where you play, where you live, your driver's license. There's all these different things that help control how you get paid and how much tax you can avoid paying. But when you're making in the tens of millions, like some hockey players are making, any amount that they can save, any percentage by virtue of how much they're earning, is a benefit.
Yeah, capping that signing bonus at 60% of the contract value, as well as banning deferred payments, is not.
Yes.
I don't know why Gary hates Canada so much.
Well, he looks at it from the perspective is how much money can the National Hockey League make. Sorry. And it comes down to there's more money in the U.S. because there are places where there's no interest in hockey. And historically, he's done a good job of putting hockey in places people said, what's it doing there? Like Florida and different places, even Vegas. But, Vegas was kind of a slam dunk because every sport wanted in there. But the point being, new fertile ground, new money. I think they feel that all the money that Canada is going to give is being given already. It doesn't matter. They don't need to add a team. They don't need to have any championships in Canada to earn more money, because the people are already supporting the league as much as they can. So there's no upside for Canada winning. There's no upside for giving them a chance to have better teams. There's just no upside in the eyes of Gary Bettman and the National Hockey League. And sadly, this also, it kind of casts some shade on the ownership in Canada as well, where, they're not arguing about some of the stuff they could complain about. And that I find disheartening.
I understand and I can appreciate the desire for Barry, for Bettman to make more money for the owners. It's kind of been his stated goal all along. I don't think he's ever been hiding that sort of thing. He's always been very upfront about it.
With his actions. He may say one thing, but it's what he does that's been consistent.
The thing that I can appreciate most about some of the changes that are coming, though, is trying to fix the LTIR loophole.
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's a brilliant idea to try to reduce that and maybe introduce a playoff salary cap mechanism. Because, you can't sit out an $18 million player and then activate him right before the playoffs when he's 100% fresh.
And have no impact on the makeup of the team.
Yeah, it's right. Gaming the system. It's really gaming the system.
Well, we've known it's been going on. It's happened. There's been a blind eye towards it until Edmonton. Edmonton's the first team that's been questioned on LTIR after the playoffs. The only team that's been questioned on it. What a coincidence, a Canadian team.
What are the odds?
Heck of a and what other team has been warned about not fooling around with LTIR? Oh yeah, another Canadian team, Toronto. So yeah, and a final conversation here is who's going to put the A on? We haven't heard any discussion about that. I'm thinking Tanev. What do you think?
Tanev wouldn't necessarily be a bad choice. The question then becomes who wears the A where and when. Like, do you have home? Do you have home assistants?
Because the Leafs have done that with Matthews and Marner before Matthews was the captain. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, my vote's for Tanev. He's the guy who leads the team, and he leads by example. Who else do you want to have an A?
Yeah, no, I that's definitely something I can agree with. I don't think at this point though, really, it's going to be interesting to see.
All right. Thanks for doing this, Aaron. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Really appreciate you watching, everyone. Candid Frank Stanishi, 10:30 on YouTube. If you want to watch some of the other stuff we do, thank you for watching Maple Leaf Talk, where we talk Canadian sports. Yes, we'll see you on Wednesday.